Imagine you are a Tang Dynasty merchant in ninth century China. You have been traveling for weeks. You are carrying a fortune in copper coins, heavy, cumbersome, rattling in bags that strain your shoulders and slow your donkey. At every checkpoint, bandits eye your load. Every river crossing is a risk. The weight of your wealth is, quite literally, a burden. Then, someone offers you a solution. Leave your coins with a trusted merchant house. They will give you a piece of paper, a certificate, a receipt, a promise. When you arrive at your destination, you present the paper. You receive your coins back. No weight, no risk, just paper. This was the beginning of paper money. And it was, genuinely, one of the great ideas in the history of human civilization. The Chinese called it Feiqian, flying money, because it moved like the wind while your coins sat safely in a vault. By the Song Dynasty in the 10th century, the government had taken over the system and was issuing the world's first official paper currency. Marco Polo, arriving in China in the 13th century, could barely believe what he saw. The emperor, he wrote, had mastered the art of alchemy, turning paper into gold. Every merchant in the land was required to accept it. Anyone who refused faced punishment. The paper worked because the emperor's authority stood behind it, and because everyone trusted that authority. For a while, it worked beautifully. But paper money had a problem that copper coins did not. Copper coins were limited by nature. You could only mint as many as you had copper. Paper had no such limit. Paper was cheap. Paper was fast. And when an emperor needed money, for wars, for floods, for famines, for the endless appetites of an imperial court, the temptation was always there. Print more. The Song Dynasty printed more. The Yuan dynasty, established by Kublai Khan after the Mongol conquest, printed significantly more. By the time the Ming dynasty arrived in the 14th century, they inherited both the technology and the habit. The Ming were not reckless at first. They issued paper currency, the Da Ming Baoqiao, and for a time managed it carefully. But wars are expensive. The Yongle Emperor alone launched 5 massive military campaigns into Mongolia, built the Forbidden City, and moved the entire imperial capital from Nanjing to Beijing. All of this cost money. And when the treasury ran short, the solution was always the same: print more paper. Here is what happens when you print more paper without adding more goods or services to the economy. Every piece of paper in circulation becomes worth slightly less. Prices rise. Merchants notice. They begin asking for more paper in exchange for the same goods. The government, seeing prices rise, prints more paper to cover its expenses. Prices rise again. The cycle accelerates. By the mid-15th century, the Ming paper currency had lost almost all of its value. A note that was supposed to be worth 1 guan, equivalent to 1,000 copper coins, was trading in markets for just 3 copper coins, a loss of more than 99% of its value. Merchants refused to accept paper at all. The government tried to force acceptance through law. The laws were ignored. People hoarded copper, silver, and grain, anything with intrinsic value. The paper became worthless. This is what economists call hyperinflation. It is not simply high prices. It is the complete collapse of trust in a currency, the moment when people collectively decide that a piece of paper is just a piece of paper, and nothing more. The Ming government eventually did something remarkable. They gave up. They stopped issuing paper money entirely and returned to metal coins. Silver, imported in vast quantities from the Americas through trade, became the de facto currency of China for the next 2 centuries. The paper presses went silent. The great experiment had failed. But it left behind a lesson that every government since has had to learn, or relearn, or ignore at its peril. Paper money is not money because it is paper. It is money because people believe the authority behind it will not abuse the privilege of printing it. The moment that belief dies, the paper dies with it. The Tang merchant with his flying money had understood something profound. Trust can travel lighter than copper. What he could not have foreseen was how easily that trust could be spent. I'm Pecunia historian. The history of money is the history of everything.